All right, buckle up, everybody, because today we are diving into a truly mind-bending mix of science fiction and metaphysics.
Oh, yeah, this is going to be a good
We're
one.
talking Arthur C. Clarke's The 9 Billion Names of God,
It's classic.
alongside the expansive world of the Law of One.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? You've got Clark. He gives us this almost like a whimsical tale, monks using technology to basically bring about the end of the world.
Right.
And then you have the Law of One, which just dives deep into like consciousness and the nature of the universe itself. It's a pretty wild combo.
When I first saw these sources together, honestly, I was like, how are we going to connect these?
Yeah.
But as I started digging in, there are some really interesting parallels.
Absolutely. And that's what these deep dives are all about, right? You kind of put two things together that don't seem like they go together, and you end up with these amazing insights.
Really?
So let's start with Clark's story. We've got these Tibetan monks, and they are absolutely convinced that if they can list all the names of God, it'll bring about the end of the world. And they actually go and enlist a computer to do it. Like, what's your initial reaction to that?
Well, I mean, I think it's so interesting, right? Because you have technology being used for like a spiritual purpose.
Yeah.
Fulfilling what they believe
Yeah.
is this like divine task, basically.
Yeah.
But it does make you wonder, like, have we tried to use technology for our own spiritual pursuits?
It makes you think.
Maybe not to end the world,
Hopefully not.
but to, search for answers, connect with something bigger than ourselves. I don't know.
Right. That's a great question. And it's kind of cool to think about that, the contrast, I guess, with the Law of One, which is very much about this internal seeking, right?
Mhm.
Meditation, spiritual practices. But even there, the Law of One, it doesn't totally discount technology. It actually brings up crystals, which is kind of interesting.
Crystals. Okay, now I'm interested. Tell me more about this.
Yeah.
How do crystals and technology even go together?
Okay, so, in the Law of One, the entity being channeled, Ra, describes crystals as almost like a form of technology. And it's like they can tap into intelligent energy. But here's the thing, and this is kind of the catch. It's all about the user's intention, right? It's about their internal balance, their alignment with this concept of the Law of One. So, it's not just the tool. It's about the person using it, right? That's where the real power lies. And you see this in Book 2, Session 29, if you want to check it out.
So it's kind of like saying, even if we had the most amazing technology, right, to talk to aliens, to access like hidden knowledge, if we're not like internally prepared, it's just not going to work.
Right. Yeah, exactly. The Law of One really suggests that real spiritual growth isn't about, external things. It's all about internal transformation, aligning with the creator. And that actually brings us to another cool point of comparison between these two sources, which is this whole idea of free will versus predestination.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one. And I think in the 9 billion names of God, you really see that, right? Because the monks are so convinced that as soon as the computer like spits out the final name, the world's over. It's like this predetermined thing.
Right. It's like baked in.
Yeah.
But then how does that work with the Law of One, which is all about free will, right? That's a pretty interesting tension.
Right.
Yeah. And the Law of One is very clear, right? Free will it's the top thing. Even when it talks about like things like Hiroshima, even events as horrific as that, Ra is very clear that there was no interference from any higher beings because of this respect for free will, right? You can find that in Book 1, Session 16.
So even with all the suffering, there's this idea that they can't step in. It's almost like a paradox.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely hard to wrap your head around, right? Like, how could a universe that is, supposedly good allow these things to happen? But maybe the real question is, can they both be true at the same time? Can free will and predestination both be kind of happening? And it's just that our limited perspective can't really see the bigger picture.
Oh, that's a good point. It makes you rethink, like, all those things that seem inevitable.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just a bunch of individual choices of creating what seems predetermined. It's interesting.
And speaking of choices, we can't forget about the Law of One's core concept, service to others versus service to self.
Right.
Every choice we make, every action, it ultimately aligns us with one of those polarities, right?
Yeah, it's like this constant balancing act, trying to make choices that come from compassion, service to others, versus getting caught up in, self-interest, power. That's
Yeah.
that's the struggle, isn't it?
It's the big one, right? And what's kind of cool is that the law of one says that both polarities, they're actually trying to increase their capacity for this love light, this creator energy, but they just go about it in completely different
Wait.
ways.
So you're saying both service to others and service to self are trying to like reach the same thing. How does that even work?
It's a nuance that I think gets missed sometimes. So, you have the negative entities, right? The service to self folks. They try to increase their capacity for this love light by dominating and controlling others. But the positive entities, they try to expand their capacity through compassion, understanding, and sharing that love light with everyone.
So it's like one is trying to hoard the light and the other is trying to spread it,
That's a great way to put it.
but they both want more of it. That's wild.
It's like two sides of the same coin, right? They're both yearning for the same thing. But yeah, they go about it in totally opposite ways. And this actually makes me think about the monks in Clark's story. What if, despite their good intentions, their whole desire to list all the names of God, what if that actually aligns them more with service to self?
Oh, I see what you're saying. By
Mhm.
trying to force this specific outcome, the end of the world, based on their beliefs, they weren't really respecting free will or thinking about how it might affect other people.
Right. Exactly. It kind of reminds me of the Orion group that's mentioned in the Law of One. You can find that in Book One, Session 16. They're these beings that use manipulation, conquest, all this stuff to gain power. It's a similar vibe, right?
Yeah, it's a reminder that even actions that come from spiritual beliefs can have consequences.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder if we ever do that in our own lives, right? Pursuing what we think is right, but maybe missing the bigger picture.
That's a question worth asking,
Yeah.
And it kind of gets to the core of what both Clark and the Law of One are really exploring, the nature of reality itself.
Yeah, and speaking of the nature of reality, Clark leaves us with that ending, right? Where the stars start disappearing. And it's like, what happened? What is real?
It's such a great way to just shake up our perceptions. And it really echoes what the Law of One says about reality being this kind of this illusion, right? It's like a limited perspective on this much bigger multidimensional thing. In Book 3, Session 55, Rawl really dives into this, talking about space-time and time-space, and it suggests that these are just constructs to describe, our limited
So
experience.
they're saying that what we think is reality, it's not even the whole story. It's like we're just seeing a tiny part of it.
Exactly. It's like we're looking at one frame from a movie and trying to understand the whole plot. And I'm curious, have you ever had anything happen to you that made you question reality? Like something that totally defied your perception of how things work?
Oh, you know what? That's funny you should ask because I had this dream the other night. Okay, I have to admit that dream was pretty wild. Flying whales and talking plants, I don't even know. But it does kind of make you think like what else is out there?
Right.
What other realities are we not seeing?
It's a question that people have been asking for like forever.
Yeah.
And it's something that both of our sources kind of touch on. Clark with that ambiguous ending, the stars disappear, and it's like, wait, what's real?
Right.
But the Law of One, man, that goes deep on this stuff.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Hmm.
It describes our reality as just one little layer
Yeah.
in this massive, like, multidimensional existence.
You're right.
And it talks about different densities of consciousness, with Earth moving from third to fourth density. I'm
Yeah.
just trying to wrap my head around that.
Yeah, it's a big one. And maybe one of the hardest parts of the Law of One to really grasp. Imagine each density is like a different level of vibration. And fourth density, that's where it's at more love, more light, more understanding. But it's not like a physical place. It's more like a state of being.
So, as Earth is vibing higher, we're all kind of evolving towards that. But why does it feel like things are getting worse? More chaotic, more divided?
It's a real head scratcher,
Yeah.
right? But the Law of One, it actually talks about this. Ross says that as we get closer to fourth density, we might see both the good and the bad get more intense. It's like shaking up a snow globe, everything gets stirred up before it settles into a new pattern.
So all the unresolved stuff, the negativity, it's all coming up to be dealt
Yeah.
with. Makes sense, but it's kind of scary too, right?
Yeah, it can be tough to watch, but it's a huge opportunity. As these challenges come up, we get to choose how we react. Do we go with fear and anger, or do we go with love and understanding?
It's that choice again, right?
Right.
Service to self or service to others. But how do we even know which way to go when everything feels so crazy? It's easy to feel lost.
One of the big takeaways from the Law of One is that we got to seek knowledge and wisdom to make those choices. It's not just about surface level stuff. It's about going deeper,
Yeah.
finding that understanding that connects with your heart, your intuition, your connection to the creator.
So trust in that inner voice. But how do we even hear it? The Law of One talks about meditation. What's the deal with that?
Yeah, Ray describes meditation as this powerful way to connect with your true self, quieting the mind,
Hmm.
tuning into that love and light inside you. It's not about escaping, it's about becoming more aware.
So by getting quiet, we can actually tap into like a deeper wisdom
Yeah.
that can help us through all this. It sounds like meditation is like way more than just relaxing.
Totally. And as you do that, as you find that alignment, you become more sensitive to the energy around you. You start to feel that connection to everything. And that can guide your choices, help you act with more compassion.
This makes me think about the monks, you know, trying to find enlightenment through technology, through that computer. What if real enlightenment is not about external stuff, but about changing your consciousness?
Right. It's about where you're looking for answers, outside yourself or inside. Technology is cool and all, but it's our inner state that shapes how we see the world.
So while they were busy listing names, maybe the real name of God is love. That's the thing that connects us all.
Beautiful, man. And that inner shift, that's what moves us forward. As we align with love and light, we raise our vibration, not just for ourselves, but for everyone. We contribute to that shift towards fourth density.
But what about the folks choosing the service to self path? The Law of One talks about this harvesting thing, where those aligned with negativity go like a negative fourth density reality. What's that about, and can they change?
The law of one doesn't see it as punishment or anything. It's just about vibration. Those who
Yeah.
are vibing with negativity, they keep going in that direction. It's like choosing a different classroom in the school of life. Both have lessons, just different ones.
Okay, different classrooms, got it. But what if someone's like, wait, I'm in the wrong class? Can they switch?
Always. That's the beauty of it. Free will is huge in the law of one. We can always choose a different path, shift our polarity. It's never too late.
That's good to hear. It's like, even if we mess up, we can course correct, find a way to align with love. But how do we actually do that? What can we do to shift our polarity?
The law of one has a lot to say about that, and we'll get into some specifics in the next part. But for now, just try this. Imagine yourself as this, radiant being of light, connected to the source, Feel that love and compassion flowing through you out to everyone. That's the fourth density vibe. It's right here, right now.
I like that. Makes me feel hopeful, like we can create a better reality
Hmm.
together. But yeah, I'm ready for those practical steps. How do we make that vision a reality? All right, lay it on me. What are those steps to shift in our polarity?
So the law of one is all about starting with the inner work, right? Cultivating that inner harmony that then kind of spills out into the world. And meditation, like we talked about before, that's a big one.
Okay, so just sitting in silence can actually change how we interact with the world. How does that even work?
It's like this. Meditation helps quiet all that mental noise, all those thoughts and worries that kind of pull us away from who we really are, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And as we find that peace, that clarity, we start to hear our intuition, that inner voice that guides us towards choices that are more aligned with love, with compassion.
So it's like tapping into a deeper wisdom. But what about people who like struggle with meditation? Are there other ways to get to that same place?
Oh, for sure. The law of one is all about there being many paths, right?
Okay.
Spending time in nature, getting creative, doing yoga, tai chi, all those things can help you connect with that inner peace. It's about finding what works for you and making it a part of your life.
I get it. It's about those activities that like help you feel that flow, that connection to something bigger. It's kind of like after a good hike in the woods,
Yeah.
that feeling of just being totally refreshed and at peace.
Exactly. And that peace is so powerful, especially when there's so much chaos and negativity around us. It's like as we find that harmony within, we stop reactors so much to everything outside. We can choose love and compassion even when things are tough.
So we build up this resilience.
Mhm.
It helps us deal with the ups and downs. But what about those times when we like totally mess up? We make choices that aren't so great. How do we deal with the guilt, the self-judgment?
Forgiveness, my friend. Forgiveness is key.
Okay.
The law of one is really clear that holding on to guilt, beating yourself up, that only creates more negativity. It blocks your progress.
Yeah, it does.
We've got to remember that we're all learning, we're all growing, and we're going to make mistakes. It's inevitable. The important thing is to learn from those mistakes, forgive ourselves, and keep moving forward.
So instead of dwelling on the mess ups, we can look at them as like learning opportunities.
Exactly. Takes the pressure off, right?
Totally.
And remember, forgiveness isn't just for ourselves, it's for others too. When we can forgive people who have wronged us, we let go of that resentment, that anger. It's not about condoning what they did, it's about seeing the good in them, even if they haven't shown it to us.
I mean, that's a powerful idea, but not always easy, right?
Yet,
What about when someone really hurts you, like really betrays you?
it takes time.
Yeah,
Sometimes you need help to work through those things. But the law of one reminds us that forgiveness is really a gift you give yourself. It sets you free from that burden.
yeah, that makes sense. This whole conversation has been like really eye-opening. It's like you've given us this roadmap to navigate this crazy world to create a better reality.
Mhm.
But before we wrap up, one last question. The Law of One talks about us all being connected, but what about people who've passed on? Are they still connected to us somehow?
That's a question people have wondered about forever. And while the law of one doesn't give us all the answers about what happens after death, it does suggest that consciousness goes beyond the physical body. Brown talks about death as a transition, like move into a different level of existence.
So even though we can't see them,
Yeah.
their energy, their consciousness is still out there.
Yeah, it's kind of comforting to think about, isn't it? That those connections go beyond, the physical world. And the law of one encourages us to be more aware of these subtle connections, to realize that we're all part of something much bigger than we can even imagine.
This whole deep dive has been amazing. We've gone from sci-fi to metaphysics, explored reality, consciousness, and even gotten some practical advice for living a better life.
Wow. It's been a real pleasure exploring these ideas with you. And as we wrap things up, I want to leave you with this thought from the law of one. The universe is one being. When you view another, see the creator.
That's beautiful.
Let that guide you, inspire you to choose love, to be kind, and to see the good in everyone.
Couldn't have said it better myself. To everyone listening, thanks for joining us on this incredible deep dive into the 9 billion names of God and the Law of One. Keep searching, keep exploring, and may your journey be filled with peace, love, and light. And hey, if you've had any experiences that made you question reality, we want to hear them. Until next time, keep seeking those 9 billion names of God, or maybe just that one, love.